Hello everyone, welcome to the My Little Pony Drawing School Weekly Live Critique Stream! See, I knocked it out of the park.
Woo!
Number
Hey,
288. How insanely crazy is that? It's crazy sauce.
that's like a lot. That's like 287 that we've already done. What the heck?
Yeah, it's the 287th anniversary of our weekly anniversary of our first one. Well, not really, because there's some weeks we didn't do, but
Ali,
if,
how
if
how
we,
many of those 287 do you think you've attended?
How many hoodoo wah?
How many of the 287 previous streams do you think you've attended?
I want to say at least 200 and. Alright, I'll be generous. I'll say at least 275. I know I've missed some days,
I think it was
but
200 for
at
me,
least
maybe.
5. At least more than 5. Yeah. Too
Well,
many. You know what? I
We'll
changed
be
my
we'll
answer.
be we'll be
It's too many.
fact checking that later and
Oh god.
adjusting your salary.
Combing
you,
through hours of footage, months of
will
footage.
this will affect your performance review. So we have some silly voices. You might notice that there's my voice and a starting soon screen that you might recognize, and a no Zom voice, meaning that Zom's away today. He's having birthday cake because that's great. Um, or he's having dinner, I think, with his family. CPC's having birthday cake. That's right. So we don't have either of them, unfortunately. You have me running the stream, Fluffy Sai, and you have AlyClaw helping with the art and stuff because it takes two people to equal a Zom.
Hi, hello.
And we have the wonderful PixieNop.
Hello, I draw and talk.
You are draw and talk.
He-
And we have the
And also,
super cool Len down on the bottom of the chat there.
Hello.
Yay!
he-
So we
And we have Vex, who may or may not be helping. It depends.
I'm not sure. I didn't
we've
get a
kidnapped them and we're forcing them to help. They have no choice in the matter. They're being held captive, so...
Help. Did you just say held cactus?
Held No. they're held captive by a cactus. You know what? That's kind of logical for where they're from. That can work out.
Even if they don't help by talking, they're helping by providing emotional support by being here. You might see some of their lines appear.
Yes. So we've got arts and things today that we are going to critique as normal. If you are joining us for the first time, we can critique your art if you submit it to our subreddit. We can also give you plenty of hugs and appreciation if you critique other people's art on the subreddit. Or you can join our Discord, which is in the description, to come hang out and share art and draw with us and have a good time. Yay!
Woo.
In the meantime, we're gonna
If you critique other
jump
people's
the
art, we'll give
screen.
you MLPDS points, which you can redeem for
They totally exist.
appreciation.
This is not the first time they're being mentioned ever.
Fine line tokens. And you can redeem them.
News cryptocurrency is completely imaginary, so there's no environmental impact. Which picture are we doing first?
I don't think anybody is here from.
I'm just gonna go to the top left like a typewriter.
Yeah, and that one will be from Embroidered Equations. Let me just scroll up and get what they said. All right, so this is from Embroidered. Mainly after critique on the shading with the light sources being the sun roughly above the character, along with the text next to them, and the subtle glow from their boots and under skis, respectively. The text isn't supposed to be overly readable, just accurate to the source material, and the second one is supposed to look like there's snow in the air around the character.
Cool. I can sort of see the snow in the air option, although I feel personally like it's a bit sort of maybe a bit too much.
It blends in with the texture, like the paper texture for me.
That's sort of what I was thinking. Like, it looks too much like a sort of texture overlay more than... I think what would be good is if you broke it up a bit and made it more uneven, made it less consistent and less... Because it's kind of just like over the entire character. this might be a less is more rule. Like with fluff, if you want a fluffy character, you don't draw every single little hair all the way over the body. You draw like little tufts of fur. This could be like a similar thing where you have like, I don't think we have like a spray brush that I can use to. I could sort of just try and dopple on things. But if you're like, oh, here's some snow going. This is terrible. This spiky line snow, but it's like some snow blowing past over here, and you sort of spread it out a bit and do this, and then some bits over here, and a few misplaced drops every now and then. Like, oh, there's some snow. Don't forget some outside them too, and just on the edge to really like sell the fact that it's over the top, and just have like little clusters sort of blowing past the character in clouds, along with some. Where's the tool? Is the tool? Some sort of like faded, but again, so like in tufts and not in one particular. Maybe not like that. That was terrible, but you want to spread it out and make it look like a sort of a cloud that's blowing past them, rather than having it be too volumetric.
Makes sense. I like it. Something that I will mention just up here in this top one, here and here. It's good to have that sort of like overlap, like overlapping line.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'll do is I will take that color and I'll just make a little bit of a not overlap.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do the
I
same
think those
thing
are
up here.
gloves.
Yeah, I was about to throw that out. That might be gloves. Throw that out there.
Are they? Okay.
I think
If these
you may be onto
things,
something.
if these are gloves, you probably need to change the
I
color
can
of
see
them.
the shading
to be a
color
bit
is different,
more
which sort of
pink.
gives it away, but it's a bit hard to tell. Yeah, what Pixie's doing there is good. Make it like much more sort of obvious. And what you could do is, if you are sold on a certain color, you could like make them lighter, and if it's still not standing out enough, you can sort of add like a sort of darker fade around the skin a little bit to sort of draw it out a little bit more. Because that helps to anything that helps to sort of break apart. Like, oh, these are two separate things. Yeah, see, that's absolutely wonderful. Good.
I think another thing you could do is just line weight in general. Like a glove is something, at least these type, it looks like a very like silk long glove. If you make them nice and light and thin compared to like the thicker body outline, they'll also stand out from that and not feel like it's all part of the same. It's like this light thin glove over top.
Light and feathery and all that sort of silky stuff.
Yeah, so like a thin line can help sell that.
I'm gonna do my own over here, so it's like, okay, I'm not gonna do the whole glove, otherwise it'll cover up everything. But then it's like, so the glove is here, right? So it's like, oh, the glove continues. We could do, so make it stand a little bit on the outside of the line, thin, so it sort of looks like it's connected to and around the body, but has like a little pinch there.
As Vex says, draw a hand challenge. Yep.
Oops. Not using Clip Studio. I can't use Seed. There we go. That's what I want to do. Like use the like the erasing lines secret to art magic.
Yeah.
But basically what Pixie is doing is perfect.
Look at that weird, interesting, like little ruffles and fun stuff. That's so cool. Sells the idea.
Yeah, like I could see you've done some bits of it, but the whole sort of like bending parts of the body or clothes over things that are sort of tightly held to them it's so good. Like I draw a lot of like fantasy characters, so I'll do a lot of like, they've got like a thing on their arms, like a piece of armor, and then it's like the straps, and so like the clothes on the arm will like do this because they're being like pulled in by the straps. So like stuff like that to just give like weight to items of clothing and to the skin, because the skin is bendy flesh that will be squishy.
Excellent. With the sort of lighting that you're doing, this one, the bottom one, I love it. It looks great. The lighting is like from above, helps like illuminate and show off this character's pose and all that sort of stuff. It does a really good job of that. And just all of these sorts of areas, it's all that stuff. But on this one, what I'd probably do is I might move the light source sort of to come a little bit more from this direction, because then you'd have something along the lines of like a little bit like that, a little bit like that, a bit like that, a bit like that, and then you'd sort of have a lot of these areas in shadow. And I think it would be a little bit more impactful, or a little bit more impactful, and also a little bit more illuminating form-wise to have the light coming from this direction for this specific pose. So whenever I'm like trying to decide which angle that lights and stuff should come from and all that sort of fun weird stuff, I like taking sort of initial sketches in like a very, very small, very tiny sort of form. And then just like, overlaying the lights and shadows on top of them and all that sort of stuff. And just experimenting and seeing how they work. And, I like doing that. Probably, oh, okay. Bye, everyone. I like doing that for like a few different lighting directions, just to see which one is most illuminating for the form. And, while this one is ended up looking awesome, I think this one's a little bit difficult to sort of see the intricacies of the form with the current lighting direction. So, just kind of sort of what I'm saying, but no stress.
This might not go along too much with your the sort of theme you've got here of the sort of weathered paper. I was sort of like looking at the lighting because they've got kind of a very warm tone, which you've got like one character sort of in the sky, so like you could sort of have cool colors being around all the clouds in the sky and everything, or maybe a nice sort of like warmer light, because you sort of like want to accentuate the idea of being close to the sun and sort of being up where there's less shade on the character and there's lots of sort of bright sunlight cast on them. So I like doing sort of color overlays and stuff, so you could maybe play around with having a sort of gradient like this to splash some sort of yellow tinted color on them, and then for the one down on the bottom, something more blue to accentuate the cold and sort of the white of the snow refracting some cold light on them. You can maybe even try a bit of a color. No, not that strong, but here we go. I like to play with colors and stuff on like layers, different layers. So like here, the character is sort of in more of a bluey environment because they're like nice and they're in like a nice bright white sort of place, and I think that works to sort of accentuate the atmosphere of the character. It's up to you, and you don't have to go too overboard with it. But sometimes it can be a nice sort of effect, and you can use that to do stuff that like Pixie has talked about in the past about sort of drawing attention to the parts of the art that you want to focus on by sort of blurring away parts that you don't want. But in this case, you're sort of using light to sort of blend everything. That might not work in this specific thing because it might not work with the paper, but just sort of ideas for art in general.
Yeah, like this sort of like this sort of like different values for the different temperatures for the light, sort of leaning from the warmer tones to the cool tones and that sort of stuff. It adds a lot of like interesting visual interest, and you don't need to like go fully into it or fully overboard with it or anything like that. But it is something, especially like with the snow, if it can like add to that, it's something to consider and play around with and see what happens. I like it. Good art, good drawing.
Anyone else have anything? No? Well, in that case, we're going to be moving on. Once I locate where there it is. It's not on my taskbar for some reason.
To another snowy scene.
More snow.
Let me grab. I'm grabbing. Here we are. This is from Suborgan. Another attempt into speed painting. This took about 2 hours, 30 minutes. Need to get used to leaving sketchy lines. I always erase them and lose time.
I should give my little raccoon and our ponies jumper each, because they might be cold with all this. Well, at least they all have furry coats that I could probably.
Here's the cool thing with the sketchy lines and speed painting and all that sort of stuff. You don't need to erase them, because you can just paint over those lines and just chuck a thing on, and then just see what it works and all that sort of fun stuff. Well, someone is messing with colors and all that sort of stuff. So your original picture, all of this area is a very similar kind of a color, kind of a hue. It's all quite similar. And while the snowy scene could look like that, it doesn't look that interesting. So you can see sort of I think it's Fluffy changing hues, changing from like slightly warmer values to slightly cooler values to all throughout the picture, and that's just like making it look a little bit more interesting.
Sneaky with the overlay techniques that I like to abuse. But it really helps create a nice sort of dynamic of the colour, the sort of journey. I usually like to lean towards light on the top and darker towards the bottom using overlay. Overlay can be used for light or dark. Multiply for dark, screen for light. Though sometimes other blending modes can be useful too. But it's about experimenting with colours and blending modes to see what creates a nice effect. And similar to the last picture we talked about, so being in a cold scene, there's lots of white and blue. You've got, there are of course millions of colours in the natural world, but you sort of want to lean towards the sort of cold and bluiness of ice and water and snow, and it sort of helps create that cold effect to accentuate the feeling of the scene. I'll just reduce that a bit because maybe blue to put too much blue on the boots, but yeah.
So the pose is a little bit sort of difficult to for me to sort of get. So let me just lay out the elements of the scene. So we have this hammer. Cool, that's there. And then we have this pony sort of grabbing it and then leaning. But I can't tell whether like her back is sort of twisted in this kind of a way. So it looks like that's her tail from behind her.
Looks like her legs are facing away from us if you look at it a weird way. I think it's not because the tail is overlapping it's going under the back leg, so I think she is facing fully away from us, but there is something about
I would expect, because of like how we see these hooves going and that sort of stuff, I would expect her to be kind of behind here, so sort of pushed behind this box. So her hooves could be like here, or like here, and here, or something like that.
Yeah, I think that what's throwing off visually is if I can actually get things beyond. Okay, the thigh here is actually like thicker than this one, or like the leg or whatever, and B, there's no real overlap here. Sorry to be putting so much circling on a pony's private region, but we don't really see that this leg overlaps. We really need this for him to be really built up like this, so we can see. Oh yeah, the legs are sort of overlapping in this way, because that helps us to identify the sort of positioning of everything a bit better. Whereas as it stands now, you can look at that and sort of see as if it was going like this, with the legs facing away and the tail coming out here. because the way the sizing of the legs looks, it just sort of creates that that false implication, which I do not think is what you're trying to do. But just overlapping and sort of structural building properly can go a long way for that.
Yeah, I just like sort of looking at kind of the ground and sort of where things are positioned and all that kind of stuff.
That's also very, very helpful as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I think with some like slight tweaks. So like showing off if they are trying to do this sort of thing, it's important to sort of show that this kind of a thing, these kind of shapes. Erasers are working. Something, roughly kind of sort of along these lines, maybe. Mostly this line right around about there, because you're trying to show these hips specifically. Like, let me choose a different color. These shoulders are like kind of sort of like this. These hips are kind of sort of like that. It's difficult. It's a difficult sort of twist to show in the body. But what you'll have is you'll have the body kind of sort of like twisting in this sort of a direction, kind of sort of thing. And this specific line is really important to sort of show the way that the hips are facing, all that kind of stuff. It can also be really useful to sort of look at, okay, this is like the side of the hips. How do I sort of show off that that's the side of the hips? And you can do that with using straight lines and some other sorts of things, or by, for example, you have the hip here and the hip here. You can see someone doing an amazing drawing over there. But what you can do on top is by having the
noisy
at the
animals.
hips. Yeah, if you can hear those, sorry, they are birds. Very noisy Australian birds. But you can have something along these lines, and so for this sort of pelt, sort of dress kind of thing, what you can do is have that sort of follow that line there, and sort of come off here, and then come off in this sort of direction here, and that's a really good way, like following this like line of the hips and stuff is a really good way to sort of show, how things are sort of positioned away. You can see in both of these, it is important to sort of show where this belly sits, because that kind of illustrates a lot of the point of thinking out of this sort of pose that you're trying to do. So doing that, and then making sure that these hooves are positioned on the ground in relation to sort of where this hammer is sitting, super duper important. But really interesting sort of like painting exercise and all that kind of stuff. Really cool drill, really interesting, yeah. It's a good drawing. I like it.
Do our friends want to talk about these poses being drawn on the sides?
They're amazing. Done.
Not much to say. I was sometimes when I do critique, I like to try the pose myself to see first how I would maybe re-examine things. Like there's still things I'd want to work on with the legs a little bit, but yeah, something about having them a little more spread apart and a little more almost like angled. Like if I was looking at a square, if I was looking at like a square, right now in the picture they just feel very like next to each other, but I almost want the legs to like angle out to support the body leaning so drastically on something. Because like with a pose like this, you're putting all your weight on something. You're leaning on it. It's supporting you more than your legs will, but your legs still kind of hold a stability for you. So they'll be less about holding your balance and more just holding your back and forth stability. So spreading them out a bit more kind of gives that like, okay, my back's anchored down and now my front's just like working on the side there. But yeah. And the thing with poses, right? Like I'd want to experiment with this pose. I don't think I could fully give you a fix in this moment because I'd want to do a bunch of sketches to kind of work out how to pose and move the anatomy around. But for a speed drawing, I say this was really great. And just to if posing something you want to work on, that can be like a separate activity where you take the pose and try to just like draw 6 or 7 iterations of that pose and try out different things for that pose. And it can be from different angles, just slightly different alterations of the pose. It doesn't have to be the same pose over and over again, because we can discover better ways to pose things when we don't go with our first choice.
So if you're specifically looking at like poses, doing life drawing at a site called Line of Action will probably be helpful. If you look in the sidebar of our Reddit, you'll see the challenges, and right down the bottom somewhere you'll see life drawing, and that links off to an exercise in a video that I a challenge in a video that I sort of have that goes through doing life drawing and how to approach it and all that kind of stuff. And if you're looking to just get your head around different poses, sort of learn to understand why these sorts of poses are very dynamic and interesting, and kind of how things relate and all that sort of stuff. Life drawing is a really good place to start for all of that kind of thing. But yeah, really, really cool. It's really cool to see somebody just jumping into it and giving it a shot, especially with like the full background and all that kind of stuff, because backgrounds are hard and they're weird, and there's a lot of stuff to like chuck into them and all that kind of stuff. So really good job on just jumping into it. Next time that you chuck to something, yeah, just note where you think you had trouble and where you think that you're pretty happy with stuff, and that'll sort of help us, respond to the stuff that you think you're having trouble with, or the stuff that you want to work on. Oh no, the Pokemon is getting eaten, I think. Or is it getting turned into a snow shop? I'm not sure.
It's getting turned into a Twi'lekane.
Oh. Yeah, brilliant. I love it. Oh, I see. Okay.
It was hard to see upside down and with like all the stuff.
Flip the image upside down. Yep. Okay.
My bad. Well, it would be like that way up, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, with Twi'lek Hammer out of the way, we're gonna
still move. Wonderful stuff.
Yes.
Keep the speed drawing's fun. Keep that up, and don't worry too much about being too clean in a speed drawing, because it's like real painting with the actual physical stuff. You just cover it up. You just go on top of it.
There's a reason why some artists, when they're doing like speed painting sort of stuff or this kind of thing, why they'll just use like 1 layer or like 2 layers, and just chuck stuff on top, chuck stuff on top, chuck stuff on top. Yeah, see where you get to.
So moving on, you're gonna go to this time hopping pony down in the bottom left.
Is there this one up the top right?
Oh yes, there's a little one.
Oh, there's a tiny one. Okay, we'll do the Doctor Who's Archer.
That was the biggest file they had, so.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so this is by New Phantom Dude 333, and it's my OC called Montez Talatoani. I apologize for butchering that.
Talatoni.
No questions.
We tried. You did a pretty good job. I like the pose. I like the way this everything like overlaps and has shape. There's one thing that I would sort of mention with this. It would be the line art because it feels very unconfident to me. Like the lines are very like shaky. Like you don't really like, especially over here. You can see that they're sort of very wobbly. What you want to be doing, I don't know if you draw with a mouse or a tablet. If you're drawing with a mouse, the best thing to do is to go for vector, because it's a set of drawing tools that allows you to more specifically say like, okay, so we're going to start here, and then we're going to click there, and it's going to create a line like that. So then we're going to drag the mouse over here, so it's going to create like a box that's like, oh, you're dragging like this, and the line's going to be a curve. So then you can draw more more easily that way by constructing things. If you use a tablet, which I would certainly recommend, you've got to focus on using your big, clean strokes like that. So if I'm going to just do this with my hand, oh, I've got pressure sensitivity on, so stabilization and all that on. Do I have a tool I can use that? Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, that's a pencil. Too big. Nothing wants to facilitate me. Okay, there we go. So, like not very clean. You can see it's sort of this sort of bumpiness. Whereas if using the actual sort of swishy strokes, so creates a more smooth. So all I'm doing really is moving my hand faster. So this is slow. I'm trying to keep it smooth. It's pretty easy because I have a program that is capable of sort of correcting a bit. Whoosh! No, I keep missing my program. Granted, you can't do these huge giant lines every single time, but if I was doing the character, I would sort of focus on. Hold on, if I just do some underneath. If I was doing this, I would be able to go like swoosh over the back, a bit smaller maybe. There we go, and then swoosh. And if you say like, oh, you know that's not perfect, that's okay. You can just go in and correct. So maybe this part needs to be done again. Okay, cool, good. So it's very very important to sort of get your lines like sort of long and confident. And if you do a line and it doesn't work, it's fine. You can just keep doing it again and again until you have something that you feel you can work with. And sometimes it takes ages to get that, and that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But doing lines in as few goes as possible, I would definitely recommend. And just knowing what you're trying to accomplish with the line and going for it. And if you're struggling because of not having enough like under sketching, maybe that's the thing to work on. But I would say trying to have strong lines. So you want your stabilization and pressure sensitivity to be just right, because you don't want it to fight you too much, but you definitely need some, because it helps you to get the sort of lines that you can with physical pens. So I hope that helps in some way.
Yeah. So when you draw, you shouldn't be only moving your wrist. You should be trying your best to sort of move your shoulder and move your elbow to sort of create these longer lines. And you also shouldn't draw too slowly, because if you like, if it takes, so here's a line. If it takes me like ages to draw a line, then it is going to be wobbly and weird just because I have drawn it fairly slow, and we can't sort of keep everything exact for that long. So you're going to need to sort of draw relatively quickly and do your best to sort of draw from your shoulder, draw from your elbow, those sorts of things. Now, I will say, I will differ from Zai on this. If you're using a mouse, don't. Just. Oh my god! Please.
Yeah,
save yourself.
Yeah.
Grab
Not
a
using a mouse
sketchbook.
is
grab a
ideal.
sketchbook. Grab a $2 pen.
That is what I neglected to mention, is that I am strongly in favor of just drawing with a paper and pencil, if at all possible. And then when it comes to the digital art thing, draw with a graphics tablet or with vector art, if that's what you want to do. They are completely different things. I'll say vector art is not the same as drawing. I've done both, and it has a completely different feel to it. They are like not really comparable. They're both fun.
Yeah, Vex has said, I have made a wonderful picture in the corner with a mouse. I'm offended. Vex, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
Pixie has
I don't think
spoken.
you want me to repost that picture. But some people like drawing mice, and they are weird. But it's something that you
Those
can do, but it's usually best to just jump into traditional
Yeah.
if you can't
Yeah,
sort of
that is
get a
what I
tablet
neglected
on the
to mention.
computer.
I love traditional art. I think I am so much in favor of, especially at the beginning of art, when you like aren't quite confident yet with digital art. The best thing is just drawing with a paper and pencil. Like absolutely. I was only mentioning that, in fact, if you some people don't have a graphics tablet and can't afford one, and I understand, and there are techniques with art that facilitate that if you desperately want to do digital art. That was all I sort of meant by that. But I do agree with Pixie. What I did before drawing, even when I did have a graphics tablet, what I would do is I drew with paper and pencil because that's just what felt natural to me. I tried drawing digitally, didn't really work. It was difficult. It just didn't feel the same because there is a hurdle that comes to learning digital art. Actually, it should be side on. It's tricky, but I just drew with paper and pencil for a while, and I colored using GIMP. I found it just worked for what I wanted. I would scan the drawings, put them into GIMP, and I would use the path tool, which basically you create like lines which aren't actually lines. They're just kind of like it's just telling the program, hey, here's just like a direction. Here's a path that I want you to pay attention to. Okay, now take a pencil tool and then put it around that path, so you can just tell the program to stroke it with just like a line or with a particular tool. So I would just use the path tool, set up, like just go over the entire line out of the picture. Then I would just stroke it with a pencil at like one single like pixel. Um, so like this, so that there was no anti-aliasing, so the paint bucket tool would catch everything, and then I'd do just like another layer over the top and have it stroke with like a thin, a nice like anti-alias line. But so there are ways you can do art without using a graphics tablet if you really want to do digital art. But I'd still recommend doing the actual drawing on paper and pencil, at least until you get to a point where you can learn to draw using a graphics tablet. In which case, there is definitely a learning curve. It's worth doing. It's worth trying to get used to it. But it is there will be a learning curve, so you're not going to pick up straight away. And if you don't pick up straight away, you're not weird. That's normal. There's some doodling of this boner farm boy.
There's so many cool, interesting, fun ponies being drawn, and I love them all. Here's the thing. Who? What? Sorry, what was the name of the person that drew this?
their name is New Phantom Dude 333.
New Phantom Dude. The best thing for you right now is to keep on drawing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter whether what you draw matches up to your expectations, whether it's good, whether it's horrendous, whether it's bad. It's fine. You just need to keep on drawing. Keep on. If digital makes you excited, keep on drawing digitally. If you want to try out drawing traditionally, draw traditionally. The best thing for the thing that's going to help you improve is just making sure that you stay excited enough about drawing to keep on drawing. We've got tips like different ways to make your line weight more confident. You've got like little examples of sketches here to sort of help you out and all that kind of stuff. But just make sure that you keep on drawing. That's the thing that's really going to sort of help you
Yeah.
improve.
And one other small thing, make your canvas a little bigger. This was a very small picture. I'm not sure if
So
you
tiny.
downsized it when you sent it to us, but don't be afraid to make that canvas much bigger. It helps usually with the smoothing out of brushes, and just generally you'll have more space to do stuff.
Yeah.
You don't need to make like a 10K by 10K pixel canvas, but don't be
No,
afraid to make
don't.
it a little bigger.
My usual, for like perspective, at least for me anyway, my usual one is or at least what I start with is 3,500 by 5,000. No, I had those backwards. It's length first, 5,000 by 3,500. But what I often use for just like doodling is like a 2,000 by 2,000 canvas, and that might work for you. I just pop open a square 2000 pixel canvas, and it's a pretty good size for sketching without being overwhelmed by having too much space. You definitely don't want to have anything like upwards of anything around like 6,000 to 7,000. That's what I do if I have to expand the canvas because I have like a really big project and I'm trying to include a lot of like, oh, there's more background I need to put in over here, and I'll keep expanding. But you don't really want to go anything past that, and because it'll just overload computers, especially if you're once you get into sort of using a lot of different layers and building up a lot of complexity in how the drawing program is built, it will start to chug more and more. So it's not really necessary. We've had some people in the MLP DS before who have had like an addiction to having the canvas as big as possible. It never helps. But bigger than what you have here will definitely help.
The good thing is a sketchbook can never like overload or lag.
Yeah, I know.
You can always use a bigger piece of paper.
I don't know. Sometimes I open my sketchbook and there's a blank page and just kind of like freezes up, and I just can't do anything for several hours. So like,
yeah. The specs are good though when you start drawing. Really good stats. Sketchbooks or digital canvas at around 2,000 pixels would be like. Yeah. Both of those are good. Just draw your heart out. Do what's fun.
Real. Have fun. Good pony. Good OC. Can't wait to see what you do next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Feel free to keep sharing stuff with us.
And give this pony a new hat, because I think the hat they had already was for like foals. And they just needed a bigger size. Maybe they need
a grown up hat.
Yeah, maybe it was their hat from when they were foal, and they just don't want to give it up. I don't know. It's a character trait. Anyway, we're gonna move on now. Woo!
Yeah, heck yeah.
Grab the wonderful. All right, so this is from Deluxe Flame, or critique requested. Dr. Hooves is late. Okay. Hey, I know this is an old one, but I don't think I ever posted it here for help. I'm also trying to reignite my drawing fire. I was really happy with how this one turned out, and I remember going through multiple iterations to iron out this and more bits. They shared their sketching shots the way they did their iteration, and their biggest concerns were the watch, the mouth, like the inside of the mouth, and the hair looks a little flat to them.
I saw DFP and I thought Deep Fried Pony.
Oh no!
Oh no! Also, thank you for questions and telling us exactly what you're looking to improve. That helps a lot.
Yes, we love that. Praise to you.
This is like the perfect thing. You did a good job. I mean, with the art as well. Great job.
Yeah. No, I haven't forgotten, Vex. I'm going to say nice things about you when I'm talking about them. It's fine. You can see someone doing cool stuff over there. Really cool stuff. I love it. It's hard to sort of, because most of the hooves we're sort of seeing things from the side, and this hoop we're sort of seeing it come towards us from like a 3/4-ish sort of perspective thing. It looks like they're it's hard to have this kind of pose or this kind of like an arm and not have it look a little bit broken. I'd probably do something like more, a little tiny bit more like along this line with like the more sort of across the body sharp angle and stuff like that.
Wait.
Quiet.
We are.
Wears his watch upside down, so technically this is not correct.
Oh my god, law.
His watch like on the inside of his wrist. It's really weird. He just doesn't like looking at the back of his hand.
I mean, I've seen people in real life. I mean, I think the normal way to wear a watch is on the outside, of the wrist, but I've seen plenty of people wearing it on the inside. They sort of like pull the hand out.
Yeah.
Here, tiny Derpy
The
is
law
feeding him a muffin. Yum, 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 yum.
The law is inconclusive. Yeah.
Like this is how I would do it for it to be more similar to how he wears it in the show.
Oh, watch out! It's the fuzz.
Yeah.
Coming
Fingering
to
too hard. So there were sirens in the background. Yeah, it's with these hooves, it's a little bit difficult to well, all right, let's just simple. So these two hooves, I have like 100 billion trillion ones. Let me erase all of those. So this hoof, this hoof, and this hoof are both closer to us. Because of that, they're going to end up a little bit further down on the page. Make sure those are roughly sort of in line. Okay, cool. Because this hoof is further away from us, that one's going to end up a little bit further back. So that one can end up sort of something along these lines. Roughly. And if we do something along those lines, let me sort of like mostly erase this. It will give us this feeling of sort of what's closer to us and what's further away from us, sort of thing. You can see the awesome job with hair being done there. It's always interesting with the different sort of ways that you can take this whole like torso area. Like, let me just. Len can do his amazing sketch up here, and I'll do sort of the way that I tend to approach most of these areas down here. It's pretty subtle, but it's kind of creating this sort of thigh shape and having how I like to approach this sort of torso region is, you know, the sort of normal wing shape. You've got, you know, that front thing, and then up top it's like fairly straight, and up here it does that. I like doing the same thing for this, but then I just like cut off this back, and that goes into like the thigh and all that kind of stuff. That's how I tend to sort of approach making bodies and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I think stress. I think this is probably just going to be, you know, a lot of redlining and sort of different approaches for doing things and all that, and you can sort of see what you want to take out of it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is if especially if you're trying to reignite your drawing fire, just start drawing. I want to see new stuff. This is great, and I'm glad you got help with this old drawing, but let's get you drawing. Let's reignite that fire. Draw something new if you want for next week. We'd love to see it. We'd love to see you drawing.
And it doesn't need to be as good as this. It can be 100 billion trillion million times worse. That's fine. That's all good. It's a new drawing. And critiques like this, you can learn things from like getting old drawings critiqued, but from getting new drawings critiqued, you can sort of see what issues you're facing and what sorts of things you're dealing with right now, right at the second. It will be most useful to you.
Heck, you don't even need to get a critique. You could just come on over to the Discord and share your drawings. Like, just get on it. You got this. Start drawing.
Yeah, we have a little art channel where people are free to just chuck whatever they want in. Just to sort of, I always find it really exciting to share my stuff, just to get other people to see it. And if you want to do that, feel free to come into our Discord and throw art at our art channel. Look at this amazing sketch. Oh my god.
I love it
it's
so much.
good.
It's so good.
Len's the best.
It looks so good.
There's a tiny Derpy on his leg right now, so I'm just drawing little excitement lines.
Well, shall we move on to the next image?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Testing out using Aggie on my tablet.
We have this Homer Simpson pony that has managed to burn the cereal.
Not the hay flakes. Anything but the hay flakes.
Oh, hey.
All right, so this is by Scarlet Letter. This was a Patreon reward, but if you have any critique, it's more than welcome. I'll keep it in mind for next time.
Oh no, I did a bad thing.
What'd you do?
I guess you have to wait for it to be on the stream. I'm not sure how long it'll take to catch up.
Is it
I had
fixed
to
now?
put the chibi somewhere.
Oh,
Guess where I put
no.
it.
I'm scared.
Anyway, this is a great fire. It could use less chibis in it.
No.
So,
one other thing really quick. This is supposed to be a flat color drawing, and the only reason I point that out to say is like one of the first things that popped up to me because they were having a conversation in the chat, in the Reddit thread, whatever they're called. Since this is a flat color drawing, I would draw out the flames next time. It kind of feels disconnected to the rest of the piece to have painted on flames when the whole other piece is lined work.
I can see that.
Just add some cozies, yeah.
Yeah, it's if you look over here, and you look over here, and you look over here, and you look over here. That last one, the line, so the sorts of everything doesn't really fit with sort of the rest of the picture.
I will
what
say,
I would say,
it looks like you used a fire brush. I do think that you used it very well. It looks very cool. You did a good job with it. But I can understand what the others are saying. It's a good suggestion.
We're just saying on the stream, rip Derpy. Derpy, that should be Derpy Flakes.
F in the chat.
F in the chat. Also, something else that is kind of interesting about this fire is that it is. I think normally with fire and with these sorts of things, you'll have a lot of areas that are not that sort of. What am I trying to say? All right, let me just sketch it. Let me sketch what I'm thinking. So at the moment, everything in the picture is this sort of crazy detailed flames and fire and all that sort of fun stuff. What can be even more interesting is to have, sure, a lot of it be this like interesting, like very detailed flames and all that sort of stuff, but to have as well a lot of detail, a lot of areas that are just larger, sort of softer areas that don't have all of this detail packed into them. you know, all of these little like tiny little flicks of stuff and this and that. Just vary the sort of texture.
I agree with
There
that.
you go.
Although I
Varying
do
the texture of that
simplifying a bit
makes it more interesting.
could definitely work very well. Though I kind of like the fact that it goes outside of like having lines because it makes everything else in the image feel constructed. Like even the pony, which is obviously a organic creature that was born and grew this way, was not like a physical construction. Everything else is it's cartons and boxes and walls and tables. But even so, everything is physical and tangible, and fire is not a solid. It is a reaction. You know. So like having it be this soft thing that sort of breaks away from the construction and shows it as this like just thing that's happening. This energy makes it feel more alive to me. But that's my opinion anyway.
Just making sure. Zai, are we seeing this little thing on the side?
Yes. Wait. Oh, hold on.
Okay.
No, it is slightly covered up. I will move over it because I didn't actually see
Brilliant.
it. I didn't spot it. And now Derpy is free from the fire.
Always good to make sure.
So now she's just gonna sit on the head here. Yeah, okay,
I'm just
I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
doodling.
Here we have a lovely doodle of a lovely fire. It's all swishy and cool.
I would
The best
definitely
artist,
look up. No,
the
no,
best pony artist in existence,
no,
AlyClaw.
no.
Yep.
I would definitely look up references. This is without reference, so it's not that great. But you can still make fire look free and flowy and light. With line art, especially if you turn down the thinness, make the line art thinner, and also just observe the flowy shapes that fire does. It's just kind of like bulgy, billowy. You know, if you do want to go for that more like liquid fire that's alive, you can also I think the picture would work great with like a simplification, like over here we have drawn by the lovely Len. Like that's a great simplification. It adds to the comedic effect to like the oh crap, this fire in my cereal. Oh no. Gas. But yeah. Fire.
I'm surprised that my art is recognizable now.
You have a very distinct look to your art.
I guess.
Very, very well drawn simplification and stylization. So even stuff that doesn't sort of have your specific kind of proportions, yeah, it's you can still tell it's you, especially in this group. It's like
Yeah.
Towards the start, when I first started these live streams, I think it was harder to figure out like when I was drawing because I kind of tried to blend my style with everything else that I saw because I was worried that my style was too much out there. But yeah, this is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We have Derpy flexes. I'm just using my friends in the other chat with the shenanigans going. Okay, that's enough silly fun. Anyone else have any other points?
No, I'm sure
Good
your
art.
Patreon. Yeah, your Patreon must have loved this. Like, it's great art. It's very cute.
It's super good. I really, really like how it looks. Your art style is
Yeah.
really good. I love the eyes the most. Just everything, like the detail and how like the like pushed up lids and the tired look, and just like how the shape of the eyes are just really good. And the face
I know
shape.
it can. I know it can sometimes be a little bit interesting to sort of post Patreon stuff or stuff that you've drawn for commissions on like Public Messenger, Assistant Builder, or anything like that. If you want, you can join our Discord and chuck stuff in our critique channel.
You'd be more than happy to see
I'll ironically say they already have, and they did post this in the critique channel.
In that case, I will look in the critique channel more. That's my bad. I'm so bad at keeping an eye on the critique channel.
It's a lot. Listen,
yeah,
there's a lot, and
if I have
I'm
to justify us, we do this once a week, every week. We cannot be everywhere all at once and everything. So
in that case, what I will say is that if you post it in the voice chat channel before, like the day before we do critiques or something like that, and mention that it's for the stream, we will put it on the stream always. Worry about it.
Mhm.
Or Feel free to just ping at Pix, and then I'll be like, oh my god, someone wants my help. Yes, okay, cool.
You can just also just share your art in just the art channel and just say hi.
Yeah, it'll be no stress.
Oh wait, I have one last nitty super nitpick because it's such good art. This is a nitpick. Just be careful. Let me switch colors. Just be careful when you're doing a body that goes into somewhere. Like this just looks like the neck suddenly curves here. It's such a nitpick. I know. But just follow through with the body. Don't let it be cut off even if you're only drawing the neck up.
Good point.
Yeah.
Cool. So,
all right,
for our last drawing,
we have a nice Fluttershy.
A Flutter.
All right, this is by JDeck306. Been drawing with a tablet for a few days. Started sketching a pone, it turned into Fluttershy, who I then colored. Nice. First time coloring on a tablet, they say.
Fluttershy gets muffin too.
Fluttershy. I gotta say, first time drawing on a tablet, it seems like you're already starting to get to know the program, which is great. That's usually one of the bigger hurdles for getting a tablet is just getting a feel for the tablet and learning all the things you can do in the program and how, you kind of make your flow work process and digital art, all that fun stuff. So good on that. And that's one of the things I'd just say would keep trying, look up tutorials. I'm not sure what program you're using. But there's usually any more tutorials for every program out there. So don't be afraid to Google for that kind of stuff. Super helpful. Like if you have Clip Studio Paint or GIMP or there's so much out there. I really do recommend just giving a Google.
Oh, this is an adorable Fluttershy. I love them.
It feels like the lines are less, to me anyway, less inexperienced and more a specific style. But I definitely think referencing like other things that might have a kind of similar style to this might be good, just to sort of help give you more ideas of how to sort of bring it together cohesively. I do think, although I love the whole thing of giving a character like a white outline, I think it doesn't really work very well with the sort of messy black lines as much. That's just me though.
Yeah, these sort of like messy-ish kinds of like styles are really interesting.
Reminds me of Don't Starve, like it's very Tim Burton-y.
Mm.
There's an artist on Tumblr who I don't think they do much pony stuff anymore, but I think they do still do some. But they did very like Tim Burton-y pony pictures that look very cool. They might be a good inspiration if they're not one already.
Now I might jump into this and say we may say this looks like a style, but don't hold on to this as your style. This could also just be that you're not used to swishing your lines or sketching.
Yeah.
A swish, it's just like this nice. Oh, let me get okay. Right. It's just a nice fluid stroke. The idea is to not do the cat scratch, the chicken scratch, where you're constantly going over your lines to get them to be the right way. The thing with this method is that it tends to lead to your sketching go slowing, like it slows your sketching. It's not great for your wrist because it's a really repetitive, small movement. And it'll just slow down your whole experience. So like say if I wanted to draw a circle, I'm using my whole arm, I'm using my shoulder, and I'm using my elbow to adjust slightly. My wrist isn't actually involved in this process at all, and I'm making a circle. That went 5 times faster than going around to make my circle. So that could just be a technique to practice. It's really great. It speeds up sketching. There's so many benefits, but it might be something to look towards to cut down on the chicken scratch.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you have this sort of like style where the lines aren't as important, you're going to really need to sort of focus on the shapes. So, for example, this wing, I kind of sort of have this very deliberate shape to it, and this here, same sort of story. With this muzzle, I've done something along these lines. If you do keep this sort of lining style, you're going to need to sort of focus on shapes and making sure that your shapes are super duper solid. Good job with the sort of perspective on the legs. It's hard to kind of do that properly, and it looks like things are laid out pretty well. I kind of just want to hear more about how you're approaching art and sort of what you're looking to get out of art and all that kind of stuff. It's because you have this very deliberate looking style, especially with the white outline and that sort of stuff. It's hard to tell sort of what to give critique on and sort of what to ignore for now, kind of sorts of things.
Mm-hmm. And to that I say, next time you post here, if you still want help, ask questions. What specifically are you looking for? Is it to understand the drawing program better? Is it to understand drawing technique better? Do you just want help with anatomy? These questions help us help you more than anything, because we could go in about a 70, 80, 100,000 tangents in an art direction, but we want to do the one that you want to go towards. Not the ones that we.
If I wanted to, I could go on for half an hour on the color choices and on shading. And then if you're not interested in that, you're just going to be like, oh well, this stream is utterly useless. But
Yeah.
if we know, hey, I want some help with my lines, or hey, I wasn't too happy with this leg or this part or whatever, then we can be like, all right, we got this. We'll talk about this then. It'll be useful. What you're looking for. It's a fun drawing. I like it.
And I could go on and on about how much we want to boop this pony.
That's true.
Heck yeah.
Boop that Fluttershy.
And you got Fluttershy's daughter over here asking parent Big Fluttershy or something. maybe to get a tail trim. Let's go to the barber. Let's go to the hairdresser.
you know that Fluttershy doesn't know a good place to trim her tail.
Listen, she gets tail extensions. She obviously has somebody.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Fair
Scandal. Well, I think that does it for our art today. Is anyone else
is there anyone else who wants art? Vex, if you're in, Ali, if you're in the Picato, you just ask. Hey,
look at
is
these
anyone
horses on the bottom. These are some horses.
Some dang tired horses and
I like
some
the tired
cursed
horses. What is with these chin growth princesses going on?
Len's making masterpieces. Vex and I are just, that.
Making masterpieces. Yeah.
Celestia. Very silly. Well, anyone else has shoved art at us?
I threw a question in the Picarto, but so far no takers. I don't think.
Picarto's been very quiet today.
Yeah, there's nobody in the chat, and there's only 3 people watching, so I can only assume that's the people here. So.
Well, we'll have people in the future on YouTube. Who at least, hopefully, will appreciate us.
Heck yeah.
So, without further ado, then I suppose that does it for this week. Thank you all.
Thank you for everything. Everybody who submitted art. We love it. We love critiquing your art. We love having art to riff on and to help out with and to all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Super fun. And thank you to everybody all of the friends like Ali and Vex and Zai and Len and all that sort of thing.
Aw. And the wonderful Pixie.
Aw. Look at the heartfelt episode. This is special.
Except for Pix.
No,
Everyone
Pixie,
gets
Pixie,
plus.
Pixie, no. That's my shtick. You can't take my shtick. I'm the one who denies compliments around here.
And even she's not allowed to. She just does it anyway.
My bad.
Makes us mad.
Yep.
So, see you guys later then. Tune in next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.